Oh, shit. Well, I did that.
Have you spilled beer all over your...
I was not spilled beer. Did it work, do you think? Have we managed to deafen the listeners? If we deafen them, then they'll have higher opinions of the podcast because they'll imagine it better. Like how Big Finish is better than Real Doctor Who because you can imagine what it looks like.
Big Finish is better than Real Doctor Who because you can't listen to it because you're deaf. Welcome back, audience.
Yeah, you imagine what it sounds like.
We have a very special episode of the podcast today because we have a special guest.
Absolutely. Very special guest that we think will draw in a lot of listeners. I think there's a lot of big fans of this special guest out there. Real, personality, yes. And it is my dad.
Hello, special guest here.
Hello.
Yeah, and I remember Doctor Who from a long, long time ago.
There we go, Doctor Who historian, also known as guy who was alive in the 70s.
Yeah.
My dad. 60s also, but child.
So, this is going to be a very interesting as they all are. But as always, let's kick things off with our advice segment. What would the Doctor do?
What would the Doctor do, indeed?
Today we have some advice, or rather, a request for some advice from another anonymous listener. Fan of the show.
They're all just anonymous. Funny. Yeah. They don't seem to want to explain who they are when they talk about their deepest insecurities and their deepest fears.
We have to respect their privacy. But they've asked, should they sell or buy stocks? So, what's your opinion on this?
Well, I've got some strong feelings on this matter, okay? And I think that it's actually... it's a moral issue, in my opinion. This isn't a matter of like, oh, can I benefit? You need to be a moral figure. You need to be a helper. What this is, right? You may have noticed some slight issues, and what this is the stock market is asking you specifically for help. This is a message to you specifically, not anyone else, just you, asking for you to save it by buying every stock. And I think we can really parallel this to everyone's favourite episode of Doctor Who, Kablam, wherein, of course, the Doctor needs to come to sees this cry for help and needs to come to a system's aid. And I think that's really the situation that we're in now. And as we all know, we need to help and support every system because # not the problem.
You see, I'm going to go parallel with a very similar but diametrically completely the opposite episode and say, actually, you should sell all your stocks now because any company will crash when it is revealed that it is controlled by an evil computer, and then the Third Doctor will explode it, and that's going to drive the stock prices low. So you should sell now because, you know, any company, you just don't know, it could be run by evil computer. Many cases.
Even if the computer is evil, should we not still treat it with kindness to its clearly desperate plea for help? Perhaps we can redeem it.
No. Fuck them robots.
That's fair. That's fair. We're fully 100% anti-robot stance here on the pod.
Yes.
So, that's the advice. Good luck. Do one of those things or neither.
Exactly. So, now on to our first episode that we watched at various times.
First half episode.
Yes.
Well, second half of an episode. Oh, well...
3 episodes combined.
Of a story, not an episode. 3
Dinosaurs.
Episodes, that's half an episode.
Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
Invasion of the Dinosaurs.
The last 3 episodes of that. There we go.
The last 3 episodes of Invasion of the Dinosaurs. This is it, right. So, yeah, I've watched the second half of Invasion of the Dinosaurs, like, over a week ago and remembered some of it, and my dad has watched it 50 years ago and has now watched about 5 minutes of it. So, shall we hand it over to our correspondent from the past?
Yeah, invasion of the paper mache dinosaur.
Oh, I need to get a bit closer to the mic.
Unbelievable.
Oh,
yeah, I didn't remember that they were the dinosaurs themselves were made of paper mache and were that bad. Really, But the thing about the episodes back then is that it relied on the writing, because basically the special effects they were not there, were they really? So all the atmosphere, all that mattered was the stories, which was good, which I liked, and the characters, which I liked. Action-wise, not a lot of peril. A sort of 6-inch tall paper mache dinosaur,
and I love them.
They're
amazing.
I like them. No peril. Just no peril.
I want to adopt them all.
Yeah, but the fear factor is low. Paper mache sticky.
Yes, but the I want to be their father figure factor is high.
But possibly. But it wasn't really adopt a dinosaur, was it? I mean, that was the difference.
I've adopted a Dalek. I can. Don't question me.
Anyway, they're truly things of beauty. I think the fact that they can't move is integral to.
Occasionally they can get like a bit of head movement and it's like, whoa.
Well, it's the bit at the end where two of them fight and it looks all right, kind of.
Yeah, no, the fight is kind of legit compared to everything else.
Yeah. I mean, especially these 3 episodes had really a lot less dinosaurs. Which is probably for the best.
When I was watching these 3, I was like, different. This is not the same. It's interesting, the dinosaurs are at the start and at the end.
Yeah.
Very little dinosaur in the middle.
Yeah.
Do you think that they did a lot of? Do you think that they made a lot of footage of dinosaurs? They really did an awful lot, and then they came to look at them and they thought, you know what? We might cram a bit at the beginning. We might put a bit at the end, but maybe we should do just something a bit more on story and character.
Yeah. And it's either that or it's
that's a possibility.
It's either that or it was kind of just a story and they're like, felt like we need a threat. Let's put some dinosaurs in. I'm sure the special effects department can slap together some dinosaurs, right?
What, is they're not even that important to the plot, right?
Yeah,
like it fully could have been other things.
I felt like they're there to grab the eye, which they do in a way.
Oh, big time. They're there for an excellent cliffhanger at the end of part 1, I'll say that.
Yeah.
Not that we're talking about part 1 right now, but peak. But anyway, second half. Focus on, lock in. We're locked in.
So,
I think one thing that's interesting to me is we have sort of the Doctor's speech right at the end.
Oh, yeah.
Which, I mean, when the Doctor gives a speech about the evils of climate change in Invasion of the Dinosaurs, everyone's fine with it. But it happens in Orphan 55, everyone loses their fucking minds.
Cool. Yes. No, I was thinking that as well. To be fair, this is
Sorry,
this is Orphan 55.
Locked on.
This is I mean, I'd say Invasion of Dinosaurs is better than Orphan 55 in general, apart from the special effects, which aren't. But I mean, we're not talking about Orphan 55 now. It's a decent episode. Invasion of Dinosaurs, however, is an amazing episode.
All right.
So, I would first like to, offer a toast to my fellow members of the Benton Appreciation Society. This is
hell yeah,
peak Benton.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why? What? I didn't get to see how he turned. What happened? What was
Oh no, that's Yates. Different.
Yeah.
Different
Oh,
guy.
sorry,
Yeah, no,
sorry.
Benton is very good in this one though.
Okay.
Yeah.
In terms of, yeah, him being just like, being given bullshit orders from
Yeah.
evil people who outrank him and going, yeah, fuck that though.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
But in a deeply Benton way.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the good thing about that sort of epoch. What was you cared about the characters? I
Yeah.
cared about them. Really?
Oh, great. I mean,
Mm.
it's really,
Imagine Unit being good.
yeah.
It's amazing.
It's,
Well,
this is an
we used to
amazing-
be something, man. Unit used to mean something.
Yeah, I mean, this is, as I think I said a couple of podcasts ago, this really does feel like the, pinnacle of unit stories for, like, that era of a show. Especially with, like, the moment with the Brigadier and then and with the General where they capture, where they're in the cars and they capture the Doctor, and it's that moment of the Brigadier, mutinying in a sense, feels like a culmination of a lot of things.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I mean, speaking of culmination of aspects of Unit, you got to talk about the Mike Yates. You can't talk about the story without talking about the whole Mike Yates of it all.
Yeah. It's it's definitely. I mean, I feel like we do get a bit of Yates. I feel like maybe we don't get quite as much as I'd have liked on exactly. But you understand,
especially sort of near the very end. Like, I feel we don't quite get. And I'm not asking for like a tidy resolution to it all, but I feel like it kind of tapers off at the end in terms of like Yates's whole deal in the story.
Yeah,
that's just me though.
I think this may be a call for us to watch and talk about Planet of the Spiders at some point, because that's, I believe, the epilogue to this, in a way.
I'm down.
Yeah. In many ways, this is the third.
More of the Yates content.
I think in my mind, this is the third Doctor, Curse of Fenwick, which is a statement that makes sense to me.
Okay, so you're going to be a lot about this.
I mean, I don't think it's my favourite third Doctor.
Okay.
I think my favourite's maybe Inferno or Frontier in Space or this. Many options.
There is a lot of good stories, in his era.
Yeah. Well, also, there are many good stories, not Inferno, but Frontier in Space, written by the same writer, Malcolm Hulke, who wrote this,
True, icon.
The War Games, Frontier in Space, Ambassadors of Death, I think. Some other ones that I haven't seen. Oh. You speak.
Yud, hello, I'm here.
Hello. So,
hello.
I wasn't sure if you were speaking
like,
as background noise.
No, I just wasn't interrupting you for once in my life.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it's very interesting. Common themes in Malcolm Hulke stories of Doctor getting captured and military leadership and authority being questioned, and quite a few other things. I like his stories, and yeah, this was good. And yeah, I guess one more characters. I should also talk about Sarah Jane. Yes,
Sarah Jane is very good in this one, I'd say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she looked so young. It was crazy. Absolutely weird.
Yeah. Crazy. But yeah.
But she's good in this one, I'd say. I really like that one, the little bit at the end where it's like her and the Doctor, and the Doctor sort of going on about, you go to this place, you go to this place. That's a really nice bit for them. As I said last time we were discussing the first half of this story 2 weeks ago, I actually do really like the dynamic between Sarah Jane and the third Doctor. I would say more than the dynamic between Sarah Jane and the fourth Doctor, in my opinion.
I think it varies. I mean, different things. I mean, very funny actually. going from this story as we immediately kind of went into watching the first couple episodes of Death to the Daleks, which is far worse. And she's not written as well in that. She's because it's a Terry Nation script and.
Yep.
But yeah, no, very Dinosaurs though. She's great. I thought.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, the whole
uses her character well in the
whole subplot with
her whole
people on the
journalistic thing.
spaceship and all of that is really interesting. As we've talked a bit about themes,
Really interesting and kind of is it? I mean, the interesting thing is also that there obviously is a plot that has occurred previously in a Doctor Who story, and in a sense, something very similar to it.
Which one?
In my opinion. Right in okay, why is the title escaping me right now? The one with the one where it's the you have the two different, the second Doctor and his, evil doppelganger.
Oh yes, Enemy of the World.
Doesn't he have? Yeah, Enemy of the World. I don't know why I always forget the title of that story. There's something wrong with it. Sure, I've watched it so many times.
Yeah, I guess
there's
I didn't think about that.
Where he has his group of people that he's convinced what. First of all, weird as hell that's just because at least with this part in Invasion of the Dinosaurs, this is this is the story of it. But in the other story, it's just and by the way, this evil politician has a bunker.
That's a main part of that plot because it's about Charles Kent.
It's a main part of the plot, but it's not
is
it that thematically linked to it? To me, it always just felt kind of oh shit, and also there's that.
But we'll talk about Enemy of the World that maybe another time. But it's about the whole story's about the nature of truth and propaganda and stuff. So yeah.
No, fair enough. No, I get that. That's valid.
Yeah, Invasion of Dinosaurs. Yeah, the bunker. The bunker botherers. But I think they're a really interesting group because. I mean, this is, the core exploration of Beta Dinosaurs is being, slightly more nuanced. I'm going to, be shocking here and say it's slightly more nuanced than Orphan 55, for instance. Not slightly more than 55, but as an example, it is not just or even the story like The Green Death, it's not a simple one level good bad. It's about exploring how good things, how good intentions can lead to bad things, and examining the mindset behind that. And that's why you have the betrayal of Yates is he's a character we trust. We don't think that Yates is evil, but we get that he's wrong.
Yeah.
And then
definitely, I think it's the use of him as a character as kind of sort of microcosm for this whole sort of movement that's become twisted in using, like you said, someone who we already trust in order to show in the shorthand it already shows how people who are legitimately good people who we know and trust can get carried away by movements or not carried away, but can get purposefully by the movement twisted into this sort of thing.
But then you have the kind of, once you get, and I think there's a lot of kind of nice kind of subtle things going on with the people on the supposed spaceship bunker, of understanding that, even in the idea of the reality that they are, that they are participating in it, under their idea of colonizing your planet, there's still elements to it that are, a cause for alarm. There's still I don't say necessarily fascist, but there's very kind of well, his idea of
Yeah, I would say eco-fascist. I would say eco-fascist.
Yeah, eco-fascist of the idea that there is, they are meant to guide, and it's not an uninhabited planet. It's a planet at a lesser stage of development, and they're going to guide them. And then also you get, the
There's
whole
so much with that, yeah.
And then obviously you have the room,
the re-education room, of course.
Yeah. It's very
not the mind propaganda.
Yes.
So just thinking about it, just think when I watched these when I was a kid. So all this, we can analyze the and I'm sure the writers themselves were really involved in thinking about these things. But as a kid, you don't really see it. Yeah, I mean, thinking about it, maybe do you think that the Third Doctor was very eco? I mean, you mentioned the Green Death, which I do remember.
Obviously,
that is one that my generation do remember. And again,
everyone's dad's favourite story.
Absolutely, and I guess that's eco as well, isn't it? Really, because you've got like contamination and bugs and the evils of exploiting industries and that sort of thing. And so. Was the Third Doctor very eco?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that stuff, and I mean eco stuff or other kind of political stuff, and then
you have all the women's lib stuff with Sarah Jane.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think of examples. I mean, you get episodes like The Mind of Evil, which is about about ideas about capital punishment and prison stuff, and also about a load of other stuff going on in that episode. Weird one. But you have, a lot of these stories have, and Inferno's another one on a very kind of environmental idea. And I guess, it's interesting.
There's a lot going on in Inferno politically, I'll say that. Interesting choices being made, politics-wise.
Most of them are good. I agree with Inferno's.
Most of them are good, except for Evil Worlds, where feminism.
I
will not agree with that.
Yeah.
Aside from that, Inferno, and I still think it's a very good story, but.
Yeah. But
as we all know, common signs of evil are eye patch and feminism.
Yeah. Maybe. But yes. I think. There's a lot of that Third Doctor, and a lot of it's very intentional. Knowing a bit about the writers behind these stories is,
big time.
Like
Malcolm Hulke.
Malcolm Hulke,
guy who definitely never had any opinions on politics ever, or anything. Totally not ever.
He was
not known for that at all.
Yeah, I guess it's an interesting thing of thinking, the audience, those in general audience at the time, it's not directly going to think, but I guess it's that level of, realism, but making it feel kind of real. I guess, I mean, different areas of the show have different approaches to that. I think.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess, something we say when we say, Doctor. When we make fun of the idea of Doctor Who's never been political, but it's been more and less political, right? Like the Third Doctor era is a lot more, about political issues than, say, the early Fourth Doctor era, right?
Yeah, that's fair. And I think it's also able to be kind of political in different ways. Like sometimes it is throwing in elements of politics for realism. Sometimes it is the writer has very strong opinions that they would like to make known. And sometimes it is purposefully trying to be educational, which, is one of the intentions behind the very start of Doctor Who is education.
Oh, yeah.
So it's interesting the ways that can kind of fold in with Doctor Who.
A lot of time it's...
it is, but as a child, I don't think I picked up on any of that.
Yeah.
For me, as a kid, John Pertwee was sort of bizarrely a bit more of an action doctor. He'd run around and he'd do his kung fu. John Pertwee.
Venusian Aikido.
Thank you, Venusian Aikido. John Pertwee, not the most athletic guys, really, to be honest. But that was part of his persona, wasn't it? That he did do the fighty stuff.
Yeah.
And for me, as a young kid, that was really good. I didn't really pick up on the political things, but obviously they were important for the writers putting things together.
Yeah.
But I think there's ways of writing things so that maybe kids don't necessarily pick up on them actively. Like, they might not be watching going, yes, I see the political meaning behind this, but it still kind of gives kids that idea, right?
I guess
it brings
ties into,
up these concepts in a way you can understand.
I guess it ties into what you were saying earlier about characters, right? You know, you're watching the characters do things because they, believe in them or have motivations, and those tie into political things. It's, gives you kind of things, give the weight to the characters, which is then something you do pick up on. But yeah, it is fun. John Pertwee does get to do a bit of... he doesn't do that much stunt stuff in this one, to be fair. He's quite... Mostly because you can't really have him run away from the dinosaurs, because the dinosaurs can't chase him very well.
Why didn't he try Venusian Aikidoing a dinosaur? That would have been cool. Yeah. They could have just, walloped the paper mache to signify that it had been Venusian Aikidoed.
Yeah. The bit where the Brigadier throws a grenade at a dinosaur and comes in front of it, and then it walks away very slowly. Brilliant.
Just it's having a chill time. It's just kind of, just sort of slowly, just departing. It's not in any hurry or anything. Nothing going on that would cause you to be in any haste.
Was this a long time pre-Godzilla or something?
No, Godzilla's quite a bit earlier, but
Godzilla's old as hell.
Well, this is old as hell as well.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, I just wonder if it was after Godzilla, whether they thought, Godzilla's good, maybe we could do kind of Godzilla.
That's possibly.
I mean, I
just play around.
Watched quite a few that era of Godzilla film. I actually haven't seen Godzilla, but I've seen some of them, and they do. I mean, I think obviously those have kind of film budgets and get a bit more polished, but there is very much that kind of inspiration. I in terms of visual style, I mean, coming out that fight that you get near the end, that's very that feels very Godzilla to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can imagine at the BBC they thought, if Godzilla can do it, we should try this. See if we can do Godzilla.
And clearly they absolutely can.
Yeah. It's, I think the difference is that in most Godzilla films I've seen, the human plots are dull, and you're wanting them to be over so that you can go out and do dudes in rubber suits hitting each other in the face. Right. Do we have anything more we want to say about Invasion of the Dinosaurs?
Wouldn't say I've that much that I think I've gone through what I've got to say.
Yeah.
No, well, I only saw a bit of it. It wasn't the most memorable one that I can remember.
Okay.
Wow. Okay.
Which ones do you remember very strongly, just out of interest?
Well, it is the Green Death, and I don't know why, but something about the visuals on that were really striking. And the sort of the green glowy stuff.
Oh yeah.
That's the one that sticks in the mind the most, really.
Oh well, there you go.
Yeah.
confirming our long held supposition. Everyone's dad.
Yeah, well, I'm sure that's what the dads say. I bet it is.
Yeah.
I don't
know. People seem to remember it.
I mean, can you see that? Can you see that? For you, is that like, oh, that's a really, or is that just?
Yeah,
is it not apparent that that episode?
I mean, I guess as different context. I remember it for different reasons. Because it's the last one with Joe Grant. I mean, The Green Death was the first episode of Classic Who that I ever watched because it was the one that my dad remembered. Yeah. One of them. Yeah. I think I was the one suggested, actually.
This continues.
Gotta watch The Green Death. Oh, that was a good one.
Yeah. I think I would say one day we'd have my dad on the podcast, but that would require that I tell my dad about this podcast, but I'm not prepared to do that.
We'll just have to get everyone else from Whosock to bring their dads on the podcast.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
Just need to do process of elimination. Work our way down the line, then we get to yours.
Yeah. Eventually, I'm sure. Maybe. Possibly. So, do you want to talk about Torchwood?
Would indeed. I've recently shown him the first 2 episodes of Torchwood and this guy here has not watched Torchwood before at all and has now been chucked in the Torchwood deep end.
Yeah, very interesting. I thought again low budget. That surprised me.
Yeah,
I mean, again, only seen the first 2 episodes, but good, nice setting. Wales, very nice. Cardiff. What was interesting to me? Well, I was watching Torchwood, and there was a shot. There's a shot where Captain Jack was stood on a roof. Right, he was on a roof.
As he so often is.
In my head, I was playing through the title music to Captain Scarlet. I don't know if you know. Do you know Captain Scarlet?
I might have heard of it.
Captain Scarlet and the Mr. On. It's like by the people who did Thunderbirds.
I've heard of it. I don't know much about it.
Okay, my dad just blew this whole concept wide open.
Absolutely.
Incredible sort of concept here that explains a lot about everything.
Explains everything, frankly. Because, yes, it was like it was a Thunderbird series, right? You have these puppets. Okay, this was scary as hell.
Evil circles.
Scary as hell.
Evil circles
of light. But there was Captain Scarlet, and there was a Captain Black, and he was the evil one, and they were indestructible. And I didn't know that Captain Jack was indestructible when I saw him on this roof, right? But the image is obviously, from my point of view, taken from this Captain Scarlet puppet thing. It was a huge thing when I was young.
Wow,
huge. And I think for the writers. And also, might I say, Captain Jack, Captain Black, come on.
Yeah.
Captain Black was indestructible. And he could fall, he was evil. He could fall off a roof and would die and come back. And seriously, when I was young, there were questions in Parliament, I think, because kids were throwing themselves off roofs because they wanted to be... They wanted to be like Captain Scarlet or Captain Black, indestructible. And it was a really it's a puppet show, but it's really scary. So my theory, the whole thing behind Torchwood, absolutely, it's not about sexing up Doctor Who or anything else. It's these writers, they're wanting to get out the trauma of when they were younger, watching Captain Scarlet fall off a roof and come back, and it was a huge thing.
Right. When I'm watching this episode, right, with my dad, and he just says, "Oh, Captain Jack, like Captain Black, so he's immortal? And I go, what the fuck, dude? Because he's not watched any of the stuff that would inform me of him being immortal. And this is a long time before, like, it's even implied. And he just goes, what if he was immortal? And I go, dude.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Captain Scarlet is an excellent series. It is better. You must have seen Thunderbirds. I guess you've seen Thunderbirds. Yeah.
Yes.
Maybe.
Quite a bit.
Yes. It's the dark side of Thunderbirds.
Oh,
it's really good. Those fucking circles, man. They get you.
Yeah.
Those fucking circles. If I see like a light that's in a circle, just like a circle of like not like a filled in circle, like just like the line of a circle with like empty in the middle, and it's made of light. I'm just, oh my fucking god, it's gonna get me.
Yeah. But really, I do think these writers will have been really impressed at their age, and that they did well on Doctor Who. They thought the BBC are going to give us a series. What can we do? Captain Scarlet, indestructible.
Captain Jack, Captain Black.
Captain Black.
There we go.
And they've run with it. Seriously,
it's all Captain Scarlet fan fiction.
It's all Captain Scarlet. It is. It's all the other stuff is fluff, really. This is the key thing that they needed to do. Rebirth of the character falling off the roof.
But Big Finish does Captain Scarlet audios.
Well,
what?
Obviously.
It's all connected. Big Finish does Torchwood audios. They do Captain Scarlet audios. Why is there no crossover?
Yeah.
It'd make it too obvious.
Reincarnated Captain Scarlet. Absolutely. Wow. And all the other stuff is kind of stuff about it, but it's just about getting that character in there.
Anyway, so that's what we've got.
Theory. Hey ho, 2 episodes, 1 theory.
Well, I mean, is there anything else we even need to say about, Torchwood? I think
seriously, that's it. The whole thing summed up, really. That's the guts behind the entire thing. Is this puppet show from the 70s? No question.
Fair enough. Fair. Wow. That's our Torchwood discussion. Looking at the schedule of this podcast, we still obviously don't have any more Gate Continuum to discuss. Unless you'd like to ask any questions about Gate Continuum.
Do you have any? I was going to say, Matthew, do you have any Torchwood thoughts to share?
I think they're irrelevant now. I don't think anything I can like. We've reframed the entire thing. I'm gonna have to go and watch Captain Scarlet. Clearly.
Do seriously,
dude, we gotta start reviewing it on the pod.
You have to.
Maybe.
And yeah, Captain Black, scary as hell. Honestly, my God.
Oh wow.
Yeah, really
fascinating.
Really.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So Dad, do you have any questions about Gate Continuum, our Doctor Who themed tabletop RPG?
No.
Okay. Good to hear. Yeah. Well, in that case, that's much else we have to discuss, really. I think a shorter episode than usual. Probably for the best. Stop the episodes ballooning out of control, because otherwise we'll end up at 3-hour episodes. We haven't hit 2 hours.
No one wants that
yet.
I guess will eventually.
Possibly. I guess the thing is by the time the next episode of this podcast goes out, there'll be new Doctor Who.
Oh, horrifying. How are we feeling?
We might even talk about it. I don't know. It depends.
I feel like we've got it, right?
Yeah, we could. If it's bad, do you want to just skip it? Nah, I think
No, if it's bad, I want to insult it.
Yeah. The worrying part is that I'm going to think it's great and you're going to think it's terrible, and then we'll kill each other. But, you know, if there's not an episode of the podcast next week, you know why. Possible. But I think it's going to be great.
At least make it so we kill each other while the podcast is recording, and then have it set to auto-upload so that we can provide our listeners with that experience. You know, possibly. I think the world needs a lot more snuff podcasts. Generally, I think there's not enough of a, you know, I think there's a lot of demand and no supply.
Against my ability to edit these. But yes, next week more Doctor Who. We'll do the Children of Earth review at some point. No one's been asking about it in the comments because no one leaves any comments. But if you've made it all the way to the end of this one, leave a comment demanding angrily that we review Children of Earth.
Because that means that we get to watch Children of Earth.
Yeah. We'll do it if we get enough comments. Who knows?
Yeah.
The future's
cry for help. And,
possibly.
You know.
So, I guess thank you to our guest for.
Oh, it's been fun.
You've revolutionised the concept of Torchwood for us.
Yes, I hope that you get to watch Captain Scarlet, and you'll see where the inspiration comes from.
Wow.
Maybe.
Yeah. Listeners, we'll see you in the future when we look through the screen and see you right now listening to this podcast. Stephen.
Yeah.
Got your number, Stephen.
And then we will exit the screen.
Yeah.
Stephen.
Good night. And remember,
the screen cannot contain us.
We're always watching.
Good night.
Always watching.
Good night.